Well, good morning, evening, or afternoon. I'm just getting ready to read the last two chapters of this exciting book. Can't wait. Can't wait to get started. All right. Excellent. Yes, we are live. All right. Let's go ahead and go live on TikTok. No sound detected, huh? Check, check, check. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Unstable internet connection. That's my favorite. Okay. Well, we'll keep trying. Why do I hear doubles? Testing, testing. Check. We'll shut that off and see if we keep hearing doubles. Check. Okay, let's turn that on. Turn that off. We're going to keep trying till we get it right. So, Mike. Yeah, I'm hearing doubles. Okay. Yeah, I'm hearing double, like an echo. That's all right. We'll keep trying. Thank you for checking the audio. I appreciate that. All right. Well, good morning, evening, and afternoon, depending on what part of the globe you're on, what time zone you're in. Oh, thank you for that interruption. I'm already here. How do I shut the sound effects off? Yeah, definitely hearing doubles. Okay, nothing I can do about it now. I'm just gonna keep going. Jesus, how did that? How did that go? All right. Testing audio again. Testing audio again. Thank you for joining the fan club. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the gifts. Yeah, I'm not sure why I'm seeing doubles. Hearing doubles. Well, we're going to keep on trying. That's all right. It could be just the sound effect. It could be the. Let's hear how we're doing on TikTok. All right. Sound is not too bad. I'm not going to worry about it then. All right. So, where did we leave off? Let's see here. We left off at chapter 17. Yes, I know you told me. All right. Let's play some music, and then we're going to get started. Let's go. Some of this music is just wild. Mm-hmm. Let's see, what do we want to listen to? Let's go to history. That'll tell us. How to improve your sound quality. Yes, let's listen to that. Okay. There we go. Let's hear some neoclassical. How about that? Yeah. And away we go. Today's broadcast brought to you by Leinenkugel. Gamer Shandy. How y'all doing?
This game.
Yeah, we don't need any commercials. Thank you. Oh, can you have my auto what? Autobiography. It's going to be a very short and boring read, but okay. Thank you for helping me achieve my live goal. I appreciate it. 50%. We're almost at 50%. And please don't hesitate to send me any gifts that you deem me worthy of. Yay! Of course, when we do get to my gift level, I'm going to be like, wow! All right. I know you've been waiting for this book. We are almost done. The last 2 chapters. I gotta mirror my video. How in the world? How can I mirror this so that way? Let's see here. Settings, maybe. Watch my screen. Scene transition, live quality. Yay! Thank you for the hearts. Let's see. Advanced system. No. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take to mirror this. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not seeing any options. But yeah. Anyway, there should be maybe it's in camera. Let's see, video format. I'm gonna get this right one of these days. Color range, nope, nothing. Flip. Okay, how about now? Can you see it? Goodness, it took me forever to get to that. American Crusade, that's the book we are reading. Okay. Oh, goodness. Camera settings. Yes, now I'm an expert. What's next? Chapter 17. Well, let's find out what's next. Shall we? The phrase religious liberty and religious freedom will stand for nothing except hypocrisy so long as they remain code words for discrimination, intolerance, racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, Christian supremacy, or any form of intolerance. Chairman Martin R. Castro, U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, September 2016. No truer words have been spoken yet. But let's hear some more true words, shall we? This book isn't comprehensive. It's meant to reacquaint readers with true religious freedom, expose this crusade, and show that there are simple solutions to the religious freedom cases we're told are intractable. Solutions that put the onus of religious belief on the believer. The clear lines between belief and action that harms others and action that doesn't, and between state and church have served us well. Those who would negotiate the boundaries between church and state must therefore answer a difficult question. Why would we trade a system that has served us so well for one that has served others so poorly? This was asked by Justice Sandra Day O'Connor in one of the twin Ten Commandments cases decided in 2005. The case the court got right. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate that. We achieved a live goal today. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can get 2 more subscribers. I'd appreciate that. All the help I can get. I also wanted to show how far this court has marched across the lines towards Christian supremacy, because that is what the Crusade offers as a replacement for our lines: inequality. I left out many cases. There are simply too many to cover, and because the court is eager to consummate the Crusade, more are coming, said one veteran law professor in 2020. I have never seen such a spurt of religious liberty cases in such a short time, especially where over and over again there is a victory for religious liberty claims. The religious freedom docket exploded after Amy Coney Barrett joined the court and had not closed as this book went and had not slowed as this book went to press. The court is taking more Crusader cases than ever before. Things will be worse by the time you read this. Here's a short rundown of some of the important kinds of cases that didn't get full attention. Consider the following cases about children. The crowd looks on passively as the man cuts off the foreskin, places his mouth over the infant's genitals, and sucks the blood and skin into his mouth, exchanging bodily fluids with the infant. The ritual infects some infants with herpes. Some die. Others spend weeks in the hospital. This is happening in America right now, and the government refuses to stop it because religious freedom. An Idaho graveyard is full of children born to parents in the Followers of Christ, a sect with an infant mortality rate 10 times higher than the rest of the state. Beyond prayer, their parents won't interfere with God's plan. They refuse even the most basic medical aid, antibiotics, or insulin, that would save children's lives. A law allows minors 11 years old and up to receive CDC-recommended vaccines without parental consent if a doctor approves. Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s anti-vaxxer organization sued, arguing that the law violates parents' religious freedom. The religious freedom to withhold life-saving vaccines from their children. How gross, how sick, how grotesque. In another lawsuit, parents in a Catholic school argue that masking measures violated their religious freedom because a mask shields our humanity. And because God created us in his image, we are masking that image. Well, I guess clothing does the same thing, does it not? Does it not mask the image of God to wear clothes? So why should we wear a mask? As the Catholic faith teaches, we are relational beings, and our existence as relational beings points to the Holy Trinity. A mask is disruptive to this essential element of the Catholic faith. The Pope disagreed. The Amish prefer to pull children out of school after they turn 14 because the more educated and knowledgeable they are, the more likely they are to choose to leave the religious order. And so the Amish circumvent compulsory education laws to preserve their religion at the expense of the children. Now, I'm tempted to start a poll. Let's see. Let's do laughing emojis if you agree, crying if you disagree. If you agree that children should be taken out of schools to prevent them leaving the religious order, or a crying face emoji to say that you disagree. Let's see if we can get that in a minute. Let's see who agrees or disagrees. Well, we got one who agrees. I think that was an accident, but that's okay. Smiley face, meaning you agree that children should be taken out of schools, and crying face emojis, saying that you disagree. It's okay. It's the first time I've ever done something like that, so this is interesting. We'll do this throughout the reading to see if people are. This will keep people's attention. This will help. Yeah, I know. Now you're crying. That's okay. Adults should not be able to suck an infant's genitals in the name of a god. That this sentence needs to be written is a condemnation of today's religious freedom. Exemptions from criminal law that protect parents who pray their children to death in lieu of seeking medical care are inhumane and should be abolished. Roughly 30 states have such exemptions. Nor should religious freedom claims protect parents or stop children from getting life-saving vaccines or wearing masks. You're fine. Let's see. Should parents have the freedom to should parents have the freedom to withhold vaccines from their children? Smiley face if you agree, crying emoji if you disagree. Let's see. Let's see. Court cases get these cases wrong when the judge focuses on the religious freedom of the parents and ignore the harm to the child. When they fail to examine line 2, take the Amish, for example, the fact pattern people find most sympathetic to a religious freedom argument. All right. Excellent. People are paying attention. Thank you so much. At worst, the child will learn more. How is this a harm? The child may not then choose the religious path, but they are free to do so. That is religious freedom. Wait until the child can consent to having their foreskin removed. How about that? Including by another man's mouth if they so wish. There's no legitimate medical reason to do this on children incapable of consent unless one thinks that thoughtful grown adults are unlikely to agree to having part of their genitalia sliced away. But if the justification for imposing the procedure on children is that they won't voluntarily consent as adults, be it to an unnecessary surgery or to stay with a particular sect, then it rather proves that harm is in granting the religious freedom to claim in the first place. Forcing them to remain unlearned as a way to keep them in a religious sect is religious bondage. In 1972, the Supreme Court decided the Amish parents could stop their children's education early. Despite a law requiring schooling, viewing the sect through condescending rose-colored glasses, the court saw rural communities aloof from the world, devoted to a life in harmony with nature and the soil, and romanticized an Amish society that emphasizes informal learning through doing, a life of goodness rather than a life of intellect, wisdom rather than technical knowledge, as if these things are mutually exclusive. The court even claimed that this sect was never been known to commit crimes, that none had been known to receive public assistance, and that none were unemployed. Professor Marcy Hamilton, the leading expert on the misuse of religious freedom to abuse children, has described the decision as a love letter to the Amish. The court focused on the religious freedom of the community and parents and utterly subordinated the rights of the children. The court condemned Amish children to the rural, aloof life without once asking about the preferred course, as the dissent suggested. The court chose for the children, robbing them of their freedom in the name of religious freedom. When it comes to religious freedom, we do better to think of parents as having duties and responsibilities to children, not rights over the children. These cases can be humanely resolved by treating the children like people, with their own rights, including self-autonomy and health. Government telling parents how to raise their children is a fearsome boogeyman in the American mind, and justified in some communities. The Supreme Court touched on this fear in 1925 when it allowed children to receive private school education under compulsory education laws. The child is not the mere creature of the state. Those who nurture him and direct his destiny have the right, coupled with the high duty, to recognize and prepare him for additional obligations. That is why these cases are harder. But that doesn't make them impossible. And it doesn't mean that while a young life is incapable of caring fully for itself, religion can impose on it things that the adult would consent to. Responsibility for others does not imply impunity. We learned at the beginning of this book that parents do not have unlimited rights over their children. The principle is greater than Abraham and Isaac hypothetical. Parents don't have a right to risk the life or safety of their children because they believe God commands it. A parent who viciously beats a child should be punished without regard to biblical edict. Parents who neglect the health of their diabetic child, leading to the child's death, should not be exempt from homicide and neglect laws. That's an interesting case. I would like to see, I'm going to start a poll. Laughing face if you, smiley face if you agree, crying face if you disagree. Should parents be allowed to viciously beat their children if their religion dictates it? Go ahead. It's a 1 minute poll. Let's see how many we can get. The law cannot allow children to be sacrificed. Okay, I read that. On the altar of religious freedom. The law must be the arresting hand that stops Abraham from plunging the knife into his son, not the legal sanction for the murder. That's interesting. Employment discrimination. I also didn't cover a series of increasingly frequent cases involving religious freedom as a defense to employment discrimination lawsuits. Churches have a constitutional dispensation to hire and fire clergy as they see fit. Carte blanche. This actually makes sense for clergy under nearly any exception of religious freedom. Catholic churches should be allowed to hire only Catholic priests. Line 3 cuts both ways. But of course, religious position and some elderly religious positions at any religious organization. The Becket Fund sued, and in 2012, the Supreme Court stated this basic rule known as the ministerial exception, but applied it to non-ministers. A Lutheran school fired a teacher for having a disability. That's interesting. Fired a teacher for having a disability. She sued under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the court refused to examine her case because the constitutional guarantee of religious freedom protects the group's right to remove employees. Congress explained how religion and the ADA interact with a helpful hypothetical. Assume that a Mormon organization wishes to hire only Mormons to perform certain jobs. If a person with a disability applies for the job but is not a Mormon, the organization can refuse to hire him or her. However, if two Mormons apply for a job, one with a disability and one without, the organization cannot discriminate against the applicant with the disability because of that person's disability. Makes sense? Under the ADA, churches can account for religion, but not for disability. They may impose religious requirements on positions, but must not discriminate against a person with disabilities who meets those requirements. But the court has done something different with a ministerial exception. It asks whether an employee is a minister or not. If she is, then the court cannot even hear the case. The appellate court didn't think that the teacher at the Lutheran school was a minister because her primary duties were secular. She spent the overwhelming majority of her day teaching secular subjects using secular textbooks, and the school didn't rely on her for indoctrination. The Supreme Court upheld the termination anyway. One of Robert's favorite incrementalist tactics is to pry open the law in a way that privileges Christians, while claiming that the same decision is limited. One reason to fear the Philadelphia foster care case. Roberts knows when he cracks the door, the Crusaders will kick it in. Before this case, a host of cases held that lay teachers couldn't be fired with impunity. A school firing a teacher is not the same as a church firing a clergyman.
Roberts changed that, and it got worse immediately. Religious schools and organizations rewrote their employment contracts to label employees as ministers and given them a few nominal religious duties. And of course, the Crusaders came back to the court. In 2020, the Supreme Court decided a pair of Becket Fund cases in favor of Catholic schools and against employees. One employee was fired while getting breast cancer treatment. She died, and her estate sued for wrongful termination. The other brought an age discrimination lawsuit against her employer. Neither school claimed it fired either teacher for religious reasons, but both schools sought refuge from civil rights laws in religious freedom. The Supreme Court said that because of the ministerial exception, Catholic schools can declare that teachers are ministers and fire them despite clear anti-discrimination laws. The Catholic court allowed Catholic schools to successfully argue that women who cannot be ordained in the Catholic Church are ministers and so can be fired on a whim. Can you believe that? I tell you, religion talks out of both sides of its mouth. On one hand, they say, "Oh, women are never leaders. Women are never or preachers." But when they hire them for secular duties, they can classify them as ministers, which then allows them to be fired for whatever reason is deemed. Oh, you got sick and okay, we're going to fire you. Oh, you are now crippled, you're now fired. And there's nothing the courts can do about it because the Supreme Court has ruled that they can do so. That's pretty sick, don't you think? I'm glad you think it's funny, P. Mars. Glad you're entertained. Glad you're back. These cases cannot be made to agree with the decision in the Montana case and the Missouri ministry case. Christian schools want to be considered religious and special when it comes to firing their gay employees or their employees with disabilities or their employees undergoing chemotherapy. But they want equal treatment when it comes to public funding. Yeah, I figured that, Edward. Yeah, that's pretty sad. We need now let's flip the script. Let's see if you agree. Do you agree that we should enhance education so that we're all elevated, or should we be like P. Mars? We'll start the poll here. Smiley face if you think we should be emphasizing education to elevate ourselves, get us out of ignorance, or crying face emoji if we should be like Mars. There we go. Let's see. Let's see if Mars votes for himself. Okay. Tangentially religious. Oh, well, P. Mars hasn't voted for himself yet. So far, we've got 3 smiley faces. That means that there's 3 people here that value education. P. Mars hasn't voted yet. Or did he leave? Let's see. Let's see who's in here. Oh, I guess he left. He got bored easily. All right, let's see. State and church used to be 2 very wary animals, pacing on either side of a wall, out of one another's territory. Now, one is a host and the other is a parasite. Churches have argued and won. If you treat us differently in a way we don't like, it's discrimination. If you treat us differently in a way that benefits us, it's because religious freedom requires it. That, my friends, is religious privilege. Churches want to have their cake, which they think American taxpayers must buy, and eat it too. I also left out cases where religion wasn't the central question but will become so in the future. For instance, sometimes this court will get something right but leave the door cracked for religious freedom. Not as part of the incrementalist approach, but as a backdoor to advance the crusade, sometimes in an opinion the other side will love. In 2020, the court finally agreed that sexual orientation and gender identity are necessarily protected under federal civil rights laws that protected against gender discrimination. Gorsuch and Roberts defected in the 6-3 decision. This was a huge win for LGBTQ people and is legally and logically sound. It is impossible to discriminate against a person for being homosexual or transgender without discriminating against that individual based on sex, wrote Gorsuch. Well, he's right. An employer who fires an individual for being homosexual or transgender fires that person for traits or actions it would not have questioned in members of a different sex. Perfectly correct. But Gorsuch left the gate open for the Crusaders. He even drew their attention to employers in other cases may raise free exercise of religion arguments that merit careful consideration, though the employers in this case didn't argue that Title VII will infringe their own religious liberties in any way. Gorsuch even noted that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act is a super statute that displaces other federal statutes, such as the civil rights laws like Title VII. The Crusaders are already storming through the Gorsuch Gate. Recall, after Chapter 16, the lawsuit brought by Stephen Holtz, the right-wing radio host, QAnon Texan, and GOP power broker who thinks Texas Governor Abbott is too liberal. The activist conservative judge in that case explained that Gorsuch expressly left open the implication for religious liberties and other matters arising from its decision. The judge then decided the religious freedom question in favor of the bigot, giving Holtz a license to discriminate. Given how the Philadelphia decision circumvented the final barrier to religious exemptions from any and every law, we should expect to see this weaponized religious freedom argued everywhere. Every liberal, progressive, Democrat, and Democratic win before this court will have an asterisk that reads, until a religious freedom case on this point is litigated. As this book goes to the press, the flow of religious freedom cases to the court is increasing. The court once decided these cases every few years. Then, in the decade following the devote, they increased to deciding one a term. Now they're deciding 3 or 4, or perhaps as many as 7 or 8 religious freedom cases a term if we include the shadow docket, as we must. In 2020, and also 2021 alone, the court forced taxpayers to fund religious schools, struck down public health using religious freedom in several cases on the shadow docket, gave the Catholic Church a license to discriminate while performing government contracts, forced Boston to fly the Christian flag over its city hall at the request of a group that is dedicated to indoctrinating the next generation with the knowledge of how America was founded as a Christian nation. Christian nationalists and insurrectionists paraded the flag on the floor of the U.S. Senate after they breached the Capitol. It marked their territory on January 6th and will do the same flying over the seat of government in one of our oldest cities. The court also accepted Crusaders brought cases involving another voucher program to benefit religious schools. The football coach who imposes prayer on students, and in early 2022 it also agreed to hear a rerun of the gay wedding cake case brought by the same Crusader and involving a graphic designer who had never been approached by a gay couple or denied anyone's service or had been found to have violated a civil rights law. The outcomes are predictable. If the cases don't fit the crusade, the court will alter reality. Like the town of Greece prayers, gay wedding cake, the Missouri ministry cases. Recall that in religious cases at the Roberts Court, Christianity won 85% of the time, up from 44% before every other Supreme Court. These justices overriding principles won't be reality or the law of the Constitution or the 3 lines or even any of the legal tests unnamed in this book, but simply this: Christians win. With some due consideration given to the legitimacy of the court to preserve the opinions, and therefore wins for white Christian America. Edward says, my football coach did something similar back in 1984. Yeah, they want to shove, they will use every, thank you for the butterflies and the gifts. I appreciate that. I just noticed that. Yeah, they'll use any opportunity to shove religion down the throats of our children. And that's why they want to get them. It's called capture. It's called mind capture, and they want to do it as early as possible because they know they can't convince grown-ass adults of the validity of their claims. He took the team off school grounds and compelled us to pray together. Yikes. This is why we have separation of church and state. What if that had been a Muslim or a Satanist or a Buddhist or pick any other religion? Imagine, or a Jewish person. Let's go pray to Yahweh. What if that had been anybody else? Imagine the backlash that would have resulted. Yikes. There's also a coming attack on the last citadel of Line 3, American public schools. Courts have been unwilling to allow the machinery of the state that educates our children to be hijacked to impose religion on children. This has forced crusaders into the strategy of eroding public schools and establishing a parallel religious education system. They've secured funding for their parallel school system and done all they can to destroy and lower the quality of public schools. They're pushing for a reckoning that will either force Christianity into the public schools or force public school students into the Christian schools. I suspect that the court's opinion in the main voucher case brought by the Institute of Justice and the First Liberty Institute might open this door. In the Missouri ministry case, the court pretended that the grant recipient wasn't a children's ministry and neglected Line 3 because the parties agreed. In the Montana neo-voucher case, the court simply ignored Line 3 and everyone other than the Christian families. But in the main case, the court might say straight out of the public money can fund religious education and indoctrination. The Christian schools, in that case, had even indicated that they wouldn't accept public funds. Again, the captured court wants to take these cases. I also expect to see the culmination of the hostility toward Christianity argument. The court has essentially declared that the separation of state and church is hostile to religious freedom, even though that separation is the solution to hostility, not the source. The court might deliver the coup de grace to Line 3, and possibly the school citadel in the case of the praying football coach. It could declare that public school teachers and employees and administrators have a religious freedom right to abuse government power and position to impose their religion on the children under their care. This is the deceitful narrative case in which the coach moved out of the state a year and a half before the Crusader asked the Supreme Court to take the case. If the court decided yet another moot case and in favor of the Institute's deceitful narrative, it will say little about the law and much about the justice's desire to rewrite religious freedom law. Again, demographics, dominance, and the flip side of the coin. I also omitted a whole genre of fascinating new cases that are the flip side of the religious liberty coin. The changing demographics that instill such fear in white Christian America that seem to threaten its dominance have also been pushing the boundaries of religious freedom law. Professor Jay Wexler has explored some of these cases in Our Non-Christian Nation, How Atheists, Satanists, Pagans, and Others Are Demanding Their Rightful Place in Public Life. The same demographic dissertation that is driving the fear and the crusade, there are now more atheists and agnostics than Mormons, Jews, Hindus, Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Buddhists combined. And the nuns are now the biggest religious self-identification denomination in the country, is challenging our understanding of religious freedom. It raises truly interesting questions that get at the heart of our Constitution's guarantees of equality and religious freedom. All right, let's start another poll. I am going to ask you a question. Do you agree or disagree that other religious factions have the right to indoctrinate children by forced prayer or recitations of religious piety. If you agree with that, hit the smiley face. If you disagree with that, hit the weeping, crying face. Again, the question is, do you agree that other religious denominations have the right to indoctrinate children? Let's see where we go. Ask yourself, why is religion protected by law? What makes it special? Ignore for a moment the historical drivers, the torrents of blood spilt in the old world. Equal protection in the Constitution and civil rights laws have that covered for now. Why do we carve out special protection for religious beliefs from a philosophical standpoint? Religion is special in two ways: the degree of belief and the basis of that belief. Disagree? They really, really believe it. Why? Faith. Religious freedom is a specially protected right because people really, really believe certain things without evidence. On reflection, that seems a tad unreasonable. It also seems backwards. This rationale incorporates a judgment about the relative value of ideas, and it's reversed. Unreasoned beliefs, deeply held, are given greater legal protection than reasoned beliefs deeply held. One who is told this is a moral rule because that God said so has more legal protections for that belief and ability to act on that belief than any other who arrives at the moral rule through careful thought and study. Obedience is valued over rationality, tradition over reason, because he said so, over, because it is right. Let's do something different. Let's do open text poll. Let's see if I can do that. Let's see what happens. Let's see here. Create a question. Should religious beliefs, here's the question. Should religious beliefs be given more, let's see, how do I word this? Let's see, should religious beliefs be valued over reasoned beliefs? It's not letting me, it cut it off. Let's see here. Let's see. Agree. Disagree. Let's see. Add an option. What should I do? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you're going to understand this because the question is kind of cut off at the end. Should religious beliefs be valued over reasoned beliefs? And then it just. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start that. We'll put that off to the side. Let's see. Okay. Where did we leave off? Because it is right. Okay. Let's go. We saw this inverted valuation earlier. Think back to the unemployment cases in Chapter 8. The runaway freedom of religion train the court tried to derail in the drug counselor case. Those decisions in the favor of the Seventh-day Adventists had created a system whereby people who believed their God commanded them not to work on certain days and who were out of work as a result would be given unemployment benefits. This same thing happened in similar cases. Church leaders told Eddie Thomas what his God desired, and Eddie believed it. So he received unemployment benefits after quitting a job manufacturing military armaments. Someone with the same pacifist position reached after much personal edification and soul searching who quits the same job would be denied those benefits. Imagine, if you will, the belief two people working at the same armaments factory. Okay? They are both working making weapons for the United States military. One quits his job because he doesn't believe he should be forced to work on Saturday. He's going to be getting unemployment benefits. But the person who says, wait a minute, I don't believe we should be making weapons of war. We should be using this money to fund education. We should be using this money to fund hunger, to take care of the homeless, to take care of the hungry. He quits his job for pacifist reasons. Guess what? He's not getting unemployment. Isn't that wild? Isn't that amazing? Any other takers? Anybody else? Should religious beliefs be valued over reasoned beliefs? We've got one vote so far. 43 seconds on the clock. A Hindu or Buddhist prisoner might demand and receive vegetarian meals on religious grounds. Jacob Chansley, the self-proclaimed QAnon shaman and the horn-painted face of the January 6th insurrection, was given organic food in jail because his religious beliefs required that he only eat traditional food that had been made by God. The thoughtful vegetarian who has studied the impact of consuming animals on the climate crisis and learned of their capacity to suffer might demand the same and get nothing. Imagine that. Two people holding the same belief, one gets consideration, the other doesn't. How does that work? Isn't that amazing? Let's restart the poll. Courts have struggled with this inverted valuation. In the military draft cases, they even attempted to correct it. Some pacifist sects oppose war because their God said so. That belief gets special protection and exemptions from military service and the draft. Some thoughtful citizens drafted to fight in Vietnam held conscientious objections to killing another human, arriving at the conclusion after ethical and moral musing. Surely, the latter refusal is more principled than a person who simply followed what they are told as a divine command. The court struggled with this and said, though not quite in these words, that religious freedom really protects matters of deepest conscience, including these deeply held non-religious convictions. Unbelievable. Under this conception, religion is not so special. Matters of conscience are worth protecting, and religion is such a matter. Indeed, the founders often spoke of rights of conscience. During the debate about what would become the First Amendment, this broader understanding of religious freedom was crucial. One of the only Catholic founders, Daniel Carroll, argued in favor of the First Amendment because the rights of conscience are a peculiar delicacy and will little bear the gentlest touch of a government's hand. When James Madison first introduced the provisions, conscience was the language he used. He proposed that no state shall violate the equal right of conscience, spoke of great rights, including liberty of conscience, and called freedom of the press and rights of conscience those choice privilege of the people. Thus, this understanding conceives of religion as one facet of the freedom of thought that we protect, but not as the one and only, and not as special. Epistemology, religious belief is inferior to conscience. Let me see if I can say this. Epistemologically. Yay! Where's the cheering? I said it.
I said a 5-syllable word.
Epistemologically. Oh, that's 8. That's 8 syllables. Nice. Woo! I know. I tell you, yeah. sometimes I feel like my tongue is swollen, especially on the sides, and it's really, I can't roll my tongue. I can't do the Spanish R's. But anyway, doesn't matter. Let's do this. As it stands, it is inequitable and backward that individuals with identical positions are treated so differently under our law. Given the demographic shift away from religion, the inequity is only going to grow more stark. This disparity will, of course, be further exacerbated by the Crusade, which seeks inequality through religious freedom. It is this exacerbated inequality that is creating this genre of cases and opening these fascinating legal horizons. At their most basic levels, people are seeking the same privilege the law extends to Christians who claim the privilege with the ease of one word, God. Let's look at just a few. For more than a decade, non-religious members of our military, the second largest religious demographic in the military, you'll recall, have been asking for non-religious or humanist chaplains. They want and deserve the same kind of support that Christian soldiers receive. Only about 70% of the military identifies as Christian, but more than 97% of all chaplains are Christian. You see the disparity there? Non-religious chaplains may sound like a contradiction. Tony Perkins, who runs the Crusader Group Family Research Council and who Trump tapped for a position on the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, mocked the idea. Atheist chaplains are like vegetarian carnivores. They don't exist. They exist, and in the military, chaplains have serious advantages over, for instance, mental health counselors. When chaplains are told things in confidence, no commander, court, or anyone else can compel a chaplain or chaplain assistant to reveal such privileged information. Interesting. Without consent. This nearly absolute confidentiality is unequaled in the military for personal health and counseling. Military courts have even overturned criminal convictions if key information was disclosed by a chaplain. By contrast, while there is a presumption against reporting psychological issues to soldiers' commanding officers, they must be reported up the chain of command in 9 broad instances, including a catch-all: harm to mission. Interesting, isn't that? This perverse incentive means that some secular counselors and advisors even turn soldiers away, instructing them to go and visit chaplains to whom they may speak safely and freely. The Department of Defense has refused to treat these free thinkers equally and fought multiple lawsuits to prevent humanist chaplains from serving this growing demographic in the ranks. Secular Americans have given hundreds of invocations at local government meetings nationwide. They prefer to uphold line 3, but if the government insists on prayers, they want their chance to solemnize public meetings, to be included rather than excluded. Those giving secular invocations meet with genuine hostility and discrimination occasionally, and have won and lost lawsuits on their inclusion. I argued and lost a case about an atheist, Dan Barker, delivering a prayer to open the U.S. House of Representatives. The House chaplain discriminated against him, and the second highest court in the land sanctioned that discrimination. Anyone who compares previous prayers to Barker's proposed invocation, let us rejoice in the inalienable liberty of conscience our forefathers and foremothers risked their lives to establish, and our country continues to defend against these enemies who despise freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and freedom of thought, cannot find fault or inferiority. The court found fault in that he didn't include certain magic words that it permitted the chaplain to impose. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The Satanic Temple, a group of non-theists, is raising some of these cutting-edge legal questions. The Satanic Temple's activism is causing some judges to rethink their blind acceptance of the sincerity of religious beliefs. The Satanic Temple also created a religious abortion ritual, a ceremony rooted in our deeply held beliefs that will collide with virtually every abortion restriction in the country. And in the name of religious freedom, The ceremony is based on members' deeply held belief in body autonomy and supported by evidence, though, and philosophy. The Satanic Temple has also sought to put up monuments to fallen soldiers, just like the Christian Cross in Bladensburg, around which the group has hosted a ritual to honor satanic veterans and celebrated the government-sanctioned monument in the name of Satan. We should expect to see a few challenges to the coming abortion bans that are rooted in religious freedom, both because some religious mandate abortions for adherents if, for instance, the life of the mother is in danger, and because the loss of reproductive freedom is, at its heart, the imposition of one particular branch of conservative Christianity on us all. Can you imagine? The Satanic Temple is at the forefront of fighting for bodily autonomy for women. Think about that. The Satanic Temple is basically a woman's best friend right now. This is true. The Satanic Temple is a woman's best friend. I can't believe I'm saying that. But they are fighting for reproductive freedom for women by claiming that a medical-induced abortion is protected by religious freedom. Now that is a head case in and of itself, isn't it? Amazing. Instead of expanding the concept of religious freedom to encompass our rich and growing diversity, religious freedom is contracting. Crusaders are circling the wagons around the dwindling dominant caste. And while religious freedom is contracting overall, religious freedom is actually expanding within that smaller circle to encompass other characteristics of white Christian America that aren't religious, but which are given the religious label so as to receive the protection. The crusade is robbing Americans of their religious freedom while extending the protections of religious freedom to do so. For instance, political beliefs of white Christian America. A wave of new scholarship shows that rather than religion driving people's political ideology, it's the other way around. Politics is driving religious belief. This has monumental implications for religious freedom law. If the politics drives religion argument is not wholly convincing, at the very least there is a feedback loop where politics pressures religion and religion pressures the politics. One such toxic mix of religion and politics we've come to know is Christian nationalism. It becomes hard to disentangle the political from the religious, but they believe each fervently, so they slap the religious label on it and go to court. This happened with vaccines and masks as the pandemic wore on. No major religion objected to COVID vaccines. The sharp increase in people claiming religious exemptions from required vaccines, exemptions that shouldn't exist, shows the after the fact nature of religious justification for behavior. No new biblical scroll about vaccines was discovered. No new divine revelation handed down from heaven. People opposed life-saving medical science for political reasons, but there was no political exemption for vaccines. So instead, they used the magic word God. This happened with masks too. Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry distributed form letters that read, "I do not consent to forcing a face covering on my child who is created in the image of God. Masks interfere with religious commands to share God's love with others and interfere with relationships in contravention with the Bible." One father refused to let his kids wear masks in school because the Bible says we're made in the image of God and Satan tries to cover that up. I cannot describe to you the stupidity of that statement. I really can't. Unbelievable. Imagine, I use the example of clothing. We use face masks. Imagine a doctor doing surgery says, well, I'm not going to wear a surgical mask because it would cover up the image of God. Think of the logic. Dentist, you go to a dentist and they're breathing in your face with no mask on. Imagine for a minute having to endure that. I mean, yeah. It just, yikes. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know how else to describe the insanity. I really don't. An Ohio lawmaker said, "This is the greatest nation on earth founded on Judeo-Christian principles." This is not true, and go please read the founding myth. One of those principles is that we are all created in the image of God and likeness of God. That image is seen the most by our face. I will not wear a mask. That's the image of God right there. That's Pastor Greg Locke, who burned the founding myth with a blowtorch, banned masks at his church. There's no theology or reality to back up those statements. But it doesn't matter in the legal context. Religious freedom, because they'll claim it's religious. Right now, our collective defense or deference to religious beliefs sharpens religious freedom as a weapon. That is, you will recall the point of this potent weapon. It can and will be applied in virtually every context. Unless, of course, we can stop the court and reverse the Crusaders' damage. The end of religious freedom? The last chapter, guys. Here we go. Oh my goodness, it's only 2 pages. Well, this is going to be the shortest chapter in this entire book. Excuse me while I wet my whistle. And then, if anybody wants to join the live, here, let me get rid of this poll. After I'm done with these 2 pages, I'll be happy to take on guests who would like to join, or if you'd like to say you're wrong or you don't know what the hell you're talking about, that's okay. I'll take all criticisms. Here we go. The end of religious freedom. It's traditional to end books like this with a solution to the problem presented. The solution here is simple. Expand and rebalance the Supreme Court. I think we can all agree with that statement. Expand the courts, like we should have done a long time ago, but that's besides the point. The 6-member conservative bloc on the court is the problem. We need immediate and massive court reform. The solution is as clear as it is unlikely. It requires shattering the myth of an impartial, nonpartisan institution guided by legal principles. Whatever the court was, that is not what this court is. It is a broken body. Destroy that myth, fix the court, then we can look at reversing the Crusades' damage. Court reform is a good idea no matter what issue you care about. Voting, LGBTQ, women's, consumers, disability. Housing, immigrant rights, fighting for racial, criminal, environmental, or reproductive justice. Ending the climate crisis. We need serious democratic reform with a small d. We need to empower people and voters, not corporations and churches. So we need small d energy, not big D energy. You get what I'm trying to say? We need to empower people and voters, not corporations and churches. White Christian Americans are choosing that identity over our democracy. They are willing, walking into the arms of fascists and authoritarians because equality feels like a threat. Unfortunately, every policy solution and litigation strategy we can employ to cure America's ills leads to the Supreme Court. All remedial roads leads to 1 First Street NE. To solve these problems, we first need a solution to the Supreme Court. After much study and agonizing, I'm convinced that the only effective solution is adding seats to the Supreme Court to rebalance its extreme shift to the right. Anything else is a half measure or temporary fix. The court was stolen by moneyed special interests intent on fomenting this crusade. We have to take it back. We have to take back the court. My great fear is that we'll look back on the 2-year window from 2021 to 2022 as the last chance America had to save itself. It's tempting to point to the shifting demographics as a bright spot, and they are, but they're not a solution. Demographics are shifting against the court and the Christian supremacy asserted in these religious freedom victories. Professor Leslie Griffin observed that the victories are really losses, including for many members of the religious institutions bringing the challenges. Christians attack life-saving vaccines, masks, public health orders, and shun them for the blood of Jesus. Christians discriminate against LGBTQ couples and foster parents and children. They discriminate in their schools against LGBTQ people, people with disabilities, and non-Christian students, and demand that taxpayers foot the bill. No wonder record numbers of young Americans are claiming that they have no religious affiliation. Stacked against this demographic shift are the lifetime appointments of about 230 Trump judges who comprise more than a quarter of the federal judiciary. They were chosen because they are young, conservative ideologues. Now, with lifetime appointments and the only check, the impossibility high bar of impeachment, the Crusaders went after the judiciary as a tool of minority rule. Without court reform and expansion, the Crusaders will continue to enshrine Christian privilege for another half-century. Longer, once they have successfully extended their crusade into voting rights and democratic reforms. Everything comes back to the court reform and expansion. What's the worst that could have happened? What's the worst that could have happened? Let's see. If the religious freedom claims were rejected in the case we explored in this book. Hey, Chai Chai. It's not a question ever asked by the court, but one we explored. What is the worst that could have happened in these cases? A corporation that's never been to church could have had to provide comprehensive health insurance to its employees. A business wouldn't have been able to discriminate against customers because of their sexual orientation. For that matter, race, public health measures would save people's lives. Drug counselors fired for doing drugs wouldn't receive unemployment because they were fired for cause. Clerks would have to issue lawful licenses. Christian parents who want to opt out of public school systems that our taxes already fund would have to do so on their own dime. The government would have to put up inclusive memorials. Nuns might have to fill out a brief 5-part form to notify the government that they're taking a religious exemption. I know. Trials and tribulations. In every case, the people claiming religious freedom were still allowed to pray, to go to church. Then, when it didn't risk killing others, to hate gay people, to not use contraception, to not get an abortion, to put a cross on their grave, or to send their kids to a private Christian school. Even if the court gets a case wrong, heaven won't fall. No God would be dethroned. We should not fear offending religion, but fear failing justice. Fiat justia ruat caelum. This Latin legal maxim means something like, let justice be done, though the skies may fall. When it comes to religion and the law, we might amend the maxim slightly. Let justice be done, though heaven fall. If you believe in an all-powerful God, there's no danger that judicial decisions will trouble him in his heaven. If, however, we ask what's the worst that can happen with a weaponized religious freedom, the answer is alarming. What's the worst that could happen if we allow any religiously motivated action an exemption from the law? The rule of law disappears. When the Supreme Court asked the same question 150 years ago, anarchy was the answer. Every citizen would become a law unto himself. Government could exist only in name under such circumstances. In systems that value an individual's right to act on any religious belief, there is no law, there is only what the individual believes their God commands. And often that will devolve into a matter of political convenience. That's simply assigned religious significance after it's been politicized, as with masks and vaccines. We'll have traded the rule of law for the rule of each conservative Christian's personal God. When Pope Urban II launched the First Crusade, to cheers of Devolt, He emphasized in his sermon that the Turks had attacked Christians, destroyed churches, and devastated the kingdom of God. Another possible translation is that they laid waste to God's kingdom. He pitched the crusade as us versus them, a zero-sum game. The medieval crusaders had to drop their plowshares, strap on their swords, and march to the Holy Land to retake it and rebuild the kingdom of God. Conquest. This message that Amy Coney Barrett had for the new lawyer that roused was not dissimilar. Being a lawyer is but a means to an end, and the end is building the kingdom of God. Crusaders sit on our Supreme Court. They are working to prove the swords to plowshares prophecy true. That lovely turn of phrase signified a new era of peace. But in the biblical story, that peace comes only after conquest and forcible conversion. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it, says the book of Isaiah. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. Only after the kingdom of God has been established and imposed on all nations will there be peace. War is peace. Avoid this news. We are lucky Christ hasn't destroyed us. That's interesting. Is Christ a destroyer? Your Christ is pretty bloodthirsty. Once their crusade is successful, once conservative white Christians sit atop the hierarchy, the mountain, in the privileged position gained with their weaponized religious freedom, they'll sue for peace. Thus ends the book. American Crusade. Get your copy today. Available at Amazon and probably on the TikTok shop as well. Wow. I have to say, I didn't know if I'd get through this book, but we finally did it. Woo! The next book we'll be reading in the days coming, and I'm excited about this book, Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States. I was privileged to get this book on the TikTok shop for $8. $9 if you include shipping. And I don't think I've seen it under 12 lately, but thank you so much for the renewing your skeptic membership, I guess. But yes, I will take questions from the audience if someone wants to. Oh, you know what? I think I need to add that. Sweet Pea, is there can you see an option to? Oh, okay. Let's see here. Okay, there it is. Okay, great. So I can see anybody. SCOTUS has always been the goal of the extreme right. Yes, capture the courts and you can capture the laws. That is correct. Yeah, and they've got it now. And this is why elections are so important. Yes, thank you so much for the gifts. Thank you so much for the hearts. We haven't achieved, have we achieved, let's see. Have we achieved the gift goal? I think we have. Yes, we have. I should set up a new goal. Throw me some spice. I like this spice. Where is it? I can't see this. Yeah, so if you can capture the Supreme Court, you can capture all the laws. And I mean, it's diabolical. It really is. And it's pretty sad to see how many people have capitulated, to see how many people opted out of not voting in the last election because their favorite candidate wasn't on the docket. Can you imagine that? They would rather see an old dementia patient with fake orange tan on his face. They'd rather see him in office than the competent, smart black woman. I don't get it.
Let's see. I can't. Let me see. It's not accept. Oh, there it is.
This is Chai Chai. Are you there?
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for the book.
You're welcome. And if you want
I
to
have
hear...
been watching you on YouTube lately.
Oh, okay.
Catching up.
Yeah, I was just going to
And I
suggest...
can't wait for you to read the next book.
Yes, I can't wait for either. I'm actually...
Why am I echoing?
Are you echoing?
On my end.
Let me think.
I hear me.
Let's see here. I think it's me.
I don't like the sound of my voice.
That's okay.
How about now? You know what? Let me get some ear. You know what? I think I know what the issue is. Let me get these ear pieces in. If you let me.
Hi, sweet pea.
Okay, how about now?
You sound so low.
Well, we'll get this figured out some way or another.
It's okay.
Okay, go ahead and speak now.
Okay, you sound better.
Oh, good. You know what? That was it. I think your sound was bleeding back into my microphone. Okay, we got it now.
Yeah, I don't hear me.
That's all right. Okay, how's the sound out there?
No, I don't hear you.
You don't hear me.
Where did you go?
I'm still here. I swear.
I just heard you a minute ago. What
I
happened?
know. I don't. It's. Give me a minute. 1 second. I'm just trying to figure out this new computer here. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Let's do... Okay, microphone is on. Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, how about now?
I hear you, but you're echoing.
I don't know how to fix this. I really don't.
No, you had it and something happened.
Yeah, as soon as I plugged in my earphones, everything shut off. It literally it interferes with my mic. I don't know how to fix that. I'm just getting used to this new laptop. So, sorry.
Okay.
How is Okay, Sweet Pea, can you hear an echo? Go ahead and respond in the chat. We have the voice of skeptically as God. I need more input on that.
Yeah, because it's echoing, so it's not like...
There is an echo. Okay, I don't know what to do. Can you hear me now?
No, we hear you. You just echoing.
There is an echo. Okay. Okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, better. Whatever you did, stop. Don't touch.
Yeah, see, I noticed it turned on 2 of my microphones at the same time. That's not good.
This is better. Whatever you did, leave it. Do not touch.
Okay. I don't know what I did. I just did it.
Yeah, just leave it. Don't touch.
Oh, Jesus.
Because I'm not echoing and you're not echoing.
That's so weird. So the moment I let you on, it's like it must have turned it connected with another microphone because I've got two microphones going. I've got one for TikTok and one for YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever you did, it's working now.
All right, I'm telling you what, so much shit is happening that I'm going to become a technical wizard. I'm going to be an expert at this when this is all over. Oh my god.
You sound so stressed out.
Well, this is what happens. I get off of a 12-hour shift and I come home to do this, and it's like I have yet to have one show just go smooth. It's been a while. That's okay.
Well, that's good. But it's a learning curve. So you'll get it. Trust me, you'll get it.
I hope so. Yeah, so next book is going to be Howard Zinn's The People's History. If I can get it. There we go. People's History. Yeah, it's blending in the... Oh, there it is. People's History of the United States, Howard Zinn. And I've already read through the first chapter just to kind of get the flavor of it. And Howard Zinn is very relatable and very understandable. So...
Good.
Yeah, I know. His first chapter goes into the history of Christopher Columbus. And it's like, this will knock you on your ass. It really will. It's mind blowing, and I can't wait to get.
How many chapters are there?
I don't. I mean, look at the thickness of that book.
It's a thick book.
It's thick. It's a thickie.
I'm assuming like what, 20?
25. 25 chapters. I may only get to do one per session. I don't know if I can do two. The first chapter wasn't bad, but there's going to be some chapters that are going to get pretty dense. I don't know. But it's a fascinating read. I can't wait to get over.
I'm excited. I can't wait till you start.
If I can't do TikTok for whatever reason, technical issues, or I get a banana, whatever, you know how that goes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I've got two YouTube channels. I can literally stream to both of them simultaneously. So
how do you do that?
What's that?
How do you do that?
I'm weird. So
I was not expecting that answer.
No, it's true. So I have OBS, I have Streamlabs, I have StreamYards. And I've got multiple accounts on StreamYards because you're allowed so many hours per month free if you use StreamYards. But the problem with StreamYards is you don't have as many options as OBS or Streamlabs. But sometimes having it work is better than all the fancy gadgets and gizmos, you know? Like, for instance, TikTok. I have layers. I've got two different... I've got a background plus the name of the book, image. I can do other fancy things with TikTok, but if I just want to get the message out there, I'll just go to StreamYards and just have a simple background, a microphone, and it's not going to be as fancy or pretty. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I mean, OBS, I mean, I've got it to where I can stream to multiple at once. I just have not tried it yet. So it's wild.
It seems like a lot of work.
It can be, but once you've done it enough times, you become an inadvertent expert.
Because you feel at it so many times.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah.
I have a question. Does YouTube give you any like issues for uploading, like reading books?
What do you mean by issues?
Like, have they I guess, is your videos monetized on YouTube?
No, not yet. I mean,
okay. Have they shut down like your videos giving
They've
you like strikes?
so for instance, if for some reason I use music that could potentially be copywritten, like I try to use safe music for my introduction or
Mm-hmm.
intermission. Like say I need to go get a drink and I'll say here's some music. I try to play domain free ish music. Nothing that TikTok lets you play anything you want, but you do that on YouTube and you'll get an automatic, strike for daring to. so I so
Everybody.
I've gotten soft restrictions like my video won't play in certain countries because I used background music from some obscure it's just weird. You know what I mean? But that's basically all I've gotten. I haven't gotten really a we're going to take this video down because of hate speech or this or that. Excuse me a minute.
I hear that.
Yeah, it's this stupid. We have detected inactivity during your current live. Complete the verification to continue your current live. So I've got to put a puzzle piece, line it up to show that I'm not a robot or that I'm actually
But doesn't
here.
he sees me or having any indicator that
I mean,
you do have a guest?
I'm here. You see me. I don't know what the game is. I don't get it. It's goofy.
I think you just have to complete the puzzle, I think.
Yep, just the puzzle, and I've got to figure out how to shut that damn music off because it bleeds through everything. So, for instance, if I reach a goal, a gift goal, for instance, like I get 50 peppers, you know, TikTok coins.
Hmm.
Usually, it'll
Okay.
have like cheering, woo, woo, but I've shut that off so that way.
It's still there.
Yeah, it's there. It wasn't shut off that time, but it was shut off the first time.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that I have one creator that reads book, African American, culture books,
Oh,
and
nice.
she told me she tried to upload on YouTube and YouTube would take down her, the
How
videos.
many followers does she have?
She's brand new. Not that
Okay.
much.
Um. So if you have over 50 followers, you get more options. You get to go live on your phone and not just on a desktop. There's a couple of other perks you get once you reach the 50 threshold. And I'm just barely over that 50 threshold. That's why if anybody listening to me and you're under the sound of my voice, look me up on YouTube. That's Skeptically Speaking and Skeptically G. Please follow both channels. Anyway, so I'm trying to keep in that 50 range. I definitely want more, but I don't want less. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
So she has to get like 50 followers.
if you can get,
Does
yeah,
watch hours count too?
say it again.
Watch hours.
I don't know. I don't know. All,
Okay.
all I know is they seem to prioritize followers and engagement. And
But they're not giving you any issue for reading the books. Like, yeah, just like you do an upload dinner. Okay. Because that's what she does.
well, see, and also I'm not going. So I am using a third party hosting site. I'm not. I'm not on YouTube proper. You see what I'm saying? I'm on Streamlabs right now, which streams from Streamlabs to YouTube. So I'm connected to my YouTube channel. So I'm not using YouTube Studio to do the actual live. And
Oh.
yeah, and there's a reason for that because with my YouTube channel, I can have a background. I can play videos on a separate box within my box like
Mm-hmm.
you see here. I
Mm-hmm.
could I could literally do it here. I just don't have the time or brain capacity to do that right now. But you have that option when you use OBS, Streamlabs, StreamYards even, and TikTok. So I
Oh,
used,
okay.
and here's the thing, I used to be able to connect TikTok to Streamlabs and OBS. The problem is they keep dinging me for goofy shit. They keep having excuses to deny me the ability to connect my TikTok with these third party hosting sites. So now I have to
That's
have
weird.
TikTok Studio open on my laptop to be able to do this. Or I could use my cell phone or a tablet. But I have to use the TikTok app to go live. And it sucks.
Okay.
I used to be able to do TikTok and YouTube at the same time. No problem. And I didn't have to have multiple
Mm.
screens. So right now I have the screen in front of me. I also have a separate screen to the right of
When
me.
did that change?
It's arbitrary. They figure out ways to deny you the ability to do that. And
Remember when TikTok shut down? Did you have issues prior to that?
I was actually not active during the shutdown. I was just expecting it to
You-
go away, so I'm just like, you know what? What's the point? So I was active, kind of close to it, and then I just kind of, yeah, whatever happens happens, and then nothing happened. So I'm
Okay.
like, well, I guess I'm back.
Well, nice to have you back. All
Yeah.
right, so I'm going to tell her what you told me because I don't. I think she's like streaming straight to YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell her to get a third party in between so she can stream, and then does it automatically upload to YouTube or do you have to?
If you connect it, if you go to StreamYards, that is the easiest way to do that. OBS and Streamlabs are more technical. TikTok
But
live
StreamYard, you're limited though.
StreamYards, you are limited a little bit, but you can actually do more than just YouTube Studio itself because you can do backgrounds. Like me, I've got a green screen behind me, so I'm able to use this
Mm-hmm.
graphic.
Mm-hmm.
You can use graphics. You can actually do videos. You can actually share web browser pages as a separate box close to your head. You know what I mean? You can
Nice. I'm
that way
listening.
that way the people can see what you're reading. Like if you're doing research, oh, let's check out this, that, and the other. You can literally
Mm-hmm.
share a browser tab through
Nice. Okay.
StreamYards. Yeah, you just have to get to know. You have to get to know it. Once you use it, it becomes pretty simple, and you could do a lot of stuff. And you can have multiple accounts through StreamYards. All it requires is a email, and then
Mm-hmm.
to connect to your StreamYard account, they'll send you a verification code, and then you enter it, and then you're in, and then you get so many hours for that month. Well, if you're close to the end, they'll give you a warning saying, hey, you're almost out of hours. You can use another email, start another account, and you'll be
Mm-hmm.
back to zero again. It's that easy. So I
All
would,
right. So does you know how Studio keeps your video, right? Saves them.
yep,
Does StreamYard does that?
it can, but it only allows a certain amount. If you're already streaming to YouTube, your video is going to be
Mm-hmm.
saved. It's saved to your
Okay.
to your YouTube as a live
Hmm.
video.
Okay.
All you have to do is
Oh, okay.
yeah, you start the stream, end the stream, and it's automatic. So you can go for 3 seconds, and there's a 3 second video. You can go for 3 hours, maybe, I don't know, and then there's your 3 hour video. You just hit start stream,
Can you
end stream.
connect? Can you connect one YouTube account to multiple StreamYards?
One more time.
Can you connect one YouTube account to multiple StreamYards?
Absolutely, I have it connected to two right now.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
And
learning so much.
it's very
Thank you.
it's very easy. Because yeah, so right now I'm looking at my, oh, where'd it go? Let me see if I can open it. Oh, of course you won't. There it is, StreamYards. So I cannot remember what account this is connected to. All I know is I have two. So I have a title that I never started on May 17th. I was going to go live and I had so many audio issues, I just gave up. And it saved the.
So
In,
do you have like different you? Oh, you froze. Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
Do you have like two YouTube account for each, or do
Yeah.
you have one YouTube account for multiple StreamYard?
Okay, so I have so I have two YouTube accounts, but I also have two StreamYard accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I have two StreamYard accounts is because I was running out of hours, free hours. So I would just
Mm-hmm.
get off of one and hop on the other, and then just kind of hopscotch back and forth. But I never really ran out because I only do weekend shows. But then when I got into reading, then it started eating into my
Mm-hmm.
available hours quicker. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I ended up with two StreamYard accounts. So I'm looking at my account now. I have my Facebook account connected. I have okay, so if I click on live stream right now, go away. I don't need it. Okay, I've got Facebook, two YouTube accounts already connected because I've had to connect them at one point or the other. I've got
Okay.
Skeptical G and Skeptically Speaking as my two YouTube accounts, and they are connected on both StreamYard accounts. It's
Nice.
kind of crazy, but yeah. Like I said, I'm weird. So if I wanted to go live on Facebook, I could do that.
Nice. Okay.
But then again,
Okay.
I would literally have to get a third mic, and I'd have to connect it. I'm gonna have to get a USB port jack for this laptop because that's the only way that's gonna work. I was at Best Buy and
Wait,
I should have gotten
you
it then.
on you on Studios on a laptop?
Yeah, yep. I'm on a laptop right now.
I thought it could be on your desktop.
Well,
That's what I was told.
a laptop is considered your desktop. They both count.
No, no, an actual computer, like a computer.
Well, but this is a computer.
You know what I mean? You know, like you got the screen and you got the bus.
Let me think here. So I have my laptop screen here and then a secondary screen here, so I can literally put TikTok Studio on one screen and then my Streamlabs, which is still running, on my other screen.
Do you have a Mac laptop?
No, this is a Windows 11. But I do have, believe it,
Maybe.
I do have a Mac computer behind the laptop. And the reason I don't use the Mac computer is because it's old and it's slow. But I can use it. So
Have you
technically,
tried it?
oh, I have. Oh yeah. Like 2 weeks ago, I was running the Mac computer, my laptop, my secondary screen.
With
Because,
the studios? TikTok studios?
well, I was running StreamYard, I was running TikTok Studio, I was running OBS and Streamlabs at the same time.
Why am I getting different information? Because I was told you cannot run TikTok studio on a laptop or a Mac.
You you can run it on both. I'm doing it now.
Well,
That's that that's the only thing I can tell you.
well, I believe you. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
that's okay.
I believe you.
People are getting misinformation here and there, but I've proven it. I'm doing it right now. You take me as a reliable source.
Oh, I am. I am.
But yeah, I
Trust
mean,
me.
so what's nice is my Mac computer has an inbuilt camera and a built-in microphone, which I never use. So if I had to get a third microphone, I could connect it to the back of my Mac, use the built-in camera, and go on a third site. Not to mention my phone to my right, my tablet behind me. I mean, I could be all over the place. I could be on favorited, or there used to be fan base, which turned out to be a disappointment. I was hoping that would take off.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened with that.
I mean, well, the creators just, I think, lost interest, and it became more of a money making scheme. Sadly, people were given donations. They were always hitting people for donations, but nothing ever happened. You know,
Because I think, just
yeah.
like you stated, it was a donation scheme. It wasn't. I don't. Because I felt like if it was a true, I don't want to speak ill, of course. I don't know the ins and out or anything, but I feel like if it was a true kind of like app, I think it would have like went further along. And then when TikTok, you know, what happened to TikTok, that's when it should have went just like
they had a golden opportunity.
Yeah, golden opportunity to go through the roof.
Yeah. Do you know Francesca on TikTok?
No.
She plays the ukulele and she sings the song, "I Never Thought the Leopards Would Eat My Face."
Oh, yes, I do know her.
Yeah.
I don't know her name, but I do know her.
That's Francesca. She did a video on TikTok about fan base, and she was responding to people criticizing, "How come you're never on fan base?" Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "There's nothing over there. It's dead. What do you want me to do? I would rather be on Threads. I'm blowing up on Threads." You know, it's like, I'm going to go where the people are, but there's nobody on fan base. No one's doing anything.
Fan base had the opportunity to, after TikTok did what it did, to thrive, to change, to, because a lot of people went there.
Yeah, I did too. I still have an account there. I can't remember the last time. I don't think I've even updated the app. Like, I'm due for.
Well, I tried to go back on the app, and then it says my account was unrecognizable. Ooh. So, but I'm still getting email from them, and then I sent them an email, like a customer service.
Yeah.
To this day, I haven't heard nothing back.
Well, of course not. Yeah, you won't. It's sad. I really wanted it to thrive. I was really hoping. In fact, it was wild because what was nice about Fanbase was it no matter how many videos you had, it would actually import all of your videos, basically clone them, copy them, and all your videos were on your account on Fanbase. And it took less than 3 minutes for it all to upload.
It was nice. It was a nice feature.
Yeah. I was like, damn, this is great. I love this. I'm like, they're going places.
It's sad the creator wasn't that serious.
Yeah, that's it. I think they just got discouraged. I don't know. And then they
got discouraged at a bad time.
Yeah, no kidding. And they wanted you to buy their fan base coins to even interact with people. Like, it was weird. Like, in order to like
it was.
Yeah, in order to like a video, you had to have a coin attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was, yeah. And I didn't like that feature at all. Because I felt like, why are you trying to get money out of me? Just to say I like something? That's just crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I can't hear you now.
Yep.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
I hear you now.
It changed my microphone. I'm telling you, this thing does.
I hear you different.
I know it's different because now it switched microphones. This thing just does whatever the fuck it wants to do, and I just have no. I just got to roll with it.
I think you're connected to too many things.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just don't have the time to figure this shit out.
That's what it is. Like I'm plugged in. I know I'm plugged in. But if I see, another thing, you know what happened to me last week is I was able to play videos on my OBS, but I could play the sound through my computer speakers so that my TikTok audience could hear it. Then I adjusted the cord of this microphone. I unplugged it, plugged it in. The sound of the videos shut off, and I couldn't play them. You could hear it on YouTube, but you couldn't hear it on my end to TikTok. And
Oh,
I'm
that's
like,
interesting.
yeah. Like I said, and then once I gave up and just ended the stream, I went back and I looked at my settings in the laptop itself and noticed that the speakers option
Hmm.
switched to my microphone. Well, you can't hear anything out of a microphone. It only is for input. So
Yeah.
all I had to do was switch it from my microphone to my built-in speakers on this laptop.
But how does it change like that on its own?
I don't
That's why
know.
I don't understand.
I don't know. I
Hmm.
it just, like I said, it just does what it wants to do.
I think there's an evil spirit. I think.
Yeah, they don't like me reading this book. The evil spirit of
Well, because
white Christian
it has a
nationalism.
lot of politics in it, and of course, when you are aware of political movements, you can make changes. And
Yeah,
if you make changes, that means you stop in someone else's political movement. So, yeah.
yeah, that's for sure. And I'll tell you what, the Christian nationalists do not want an informed public. They do not want an informed and educated public. It is against their interests because an educated public will be cognizant of the fact of how they're getting screwed over
Yeah,
by
they can't
yeah.
thrive. They can't thrive within an educated public. I kind of noticed that, and then you have to see like everything they want to put into laws is just religious. Just go to church. Don't think.
Yeah, all your thinking is done for you. You don't have to.
Yeah,
You don't even have to think about it.
yeah. Stay home. Well, women stay home, cook and clean, and the men just take it. I guess be the head of the household. And I'm like, nobody wants to do that anymore. I mean, there was a time and place for it when it's needed, but it's no longer needed. And you're trying to push people going back to that. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Nobody needs that anymore.
Absolutely.
And I don't, here's the thing, right? I don't understand why they think they get to be the dictator or the authorship of other people's lives. Like, where does that come from?
Because their interpretation of scripture enables them to have this power. It's all in the mind. You have to ignore all of the teachings of Jesus to get to their white supremacist view of Christianity. And I mean, in their mind, their Jesus is a AR-15 wielding sociopath that wears a Trump MAGA hat. That's their version of Jesus.
But their Jesus isn't real.
Well, I mean, it's real to them. You see, that's the power of belief. You see, I used to be a right-wing fundamentalist Christian nationalist.
You?
Yeah. I was born and raised in it.
What happened?
I went to the religious school from kindergarten to 12th grade. I graduated from their school that was attached to the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I know this inside.
You believe this, like you believe
Well,
like this country should be Christian.
oh yeah,
You sh-
absolutely, absolutely. The difference is uh, the version of right wing Christianity that I was raised in was more integrated. It wasn't as segregated as these right wing nut jobs that you see now. Meaning
Mhm.
they'll tolerate people of color so long as they adhere and succumb to the belief system in place. If they're if you do not align with this ideology, they have no use for you. Then you're just a rebel, and you're a rebel against God. You see?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I would understand that.
Yeah,
I see how they treat others that don't believe the same way as they do.
yeah. So I was raised in this system, and lo- stepping out of it and looking back in. It is a scary black hole. It is a black hole of intellectualism. I mean, it just sucks the life out of you, and it sucks the critical thinking. I mean, it just, I just kept,
What got you?
I couldn't
What
support.
got you?
Yeah, well,
What got you out of that space?
believe it or not, conspiracy theorism. I was
What?
a conspiracy theorist, where I was a 9/11 truther. I was a big believer in government um, attacking citizens. So, for instance, if you've researched Waco, Ruby Ridge, all these instances where the United States government was sent after private citizens, I mean, the black community knows this firsthand. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially civil rights leaders, they went after them hard. I learned about that much later, but I was seeing, well, come to find out, so Waco and Ruby Ridge were influenced by white supremacist groups that were trying to band together to attack the United States. I didn't know that at the time, but I was thinking, man, that's
Mm.
unfair how they attacked the. So I became a conspiracy theorist as a young child growing up. And then
Okay.
it just, eventually I became an anti vaxxer. I was a 9/11 truther. I was a believer in inerrancy of scripture, where the Bible is complete. It is the full uh, history of the world. I was a young earth creationist, a science denier. And it just, so once I became a conspiracy theorist, I was starting to see how both the Republican Party and the Democratic Party seemed to be aligned on several issues. And so I came to the conclusion as a 20-year-old saying, what the hell? What there's no place in politics for me, because they're both in on it. It's a scam, and they're all in on it.
True.
And
I agree.
so I left the political. I mean, I was first a right wing Republican, and then I just left it all. I'm like, I don't see any difference. So during the Obama administration, I was neck deep in conspiracy theories. Some of them aligned, and I didn't know this at the time, but some of them were aligned with even Alex Jones. And I hated Alex
Interesting.
Jones. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yes.
Okay. He's a nut job. And even as a
He.
conspiracy theorist, I hated the guy. I mean,
Mm,
this guy was just a
interesting.
big bloated blowhard, and I didn't want anything to do with. But my
He was.
conspiracy theories were more highbrow. Like the banks are controlling the world, and they're the ones who start all the wars, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
And so, believe it or not, it was easier to give up religion than it was to give up conspiracy theories. I had to come to the point where inerrancy of scripture is wrong. There are mistakes in the Bible. I'm sorry, they're everywhere once you start digging in. And so once that belief fell, I could no longer be a young earth creationist. I just couldn't support, you know, being a Bible believer. I couldn't believe it. And this is at the time when I'm teaching Sunday school. I'm in church
Interesting.
programs. I'm involved in the church ministry. And here I am, I can't support the belief in the Bible. It's like, where do you go at that point? And then so once that fell, I started getting into atheism and what is atheism, blah blah blah, and I started researching atheist writers, authors, public speakers, and I just dove right in head first. And then I started joining atheist groups, and one atheist group I joined, they were like, we don't know about you. We looked at your Facebook, and you have some pretty troublesome views. We're gonna we're gonna put you on a watch list, but we'll let you in tentatively. And so that's where I got my first challenge. They challenged me on my anti-vaxxerism. They challenged me on a couple of other things. And that's where the cards, I mean, that's where the dominoes just fell one by one. I couldn't. It was like the same methodology I was using to support my belief in Christianity. It was the
Uh-huh.
same methodology that I used to support my belief in conspiracy theories. You see, it
Okay.
was faith. I had enough faith to believe it. And once I realized that faith was not a reliable tool to get to truth, I said, I don't have any use for it. And I realized I was using faith to justify my belief in a lot of these wacky conspiracy theories that I was involved in. And so I'm like, I can't support belief in those either. I just don't have any rational, proof. I watched a YouTube video, or I read this book, or this pamphlet, or I saw this meme on the internet. It's like, oh, that's your proof? Really? Good job. That's the way to raise the bar, right? And so
Hmm.
I had to eat a lot of humble pie, shall we say? And yeah, I mean that's why I come down hard, especially on atheists that believe in stupid shit. It's like you claim to be a skeptic, you claim to value truth, you'll go after a religious person, but you're gonna believe this, and this. You're out of your mind. And that's why I have less, how should I say this? I have more venom for an atheist who believes in stupid shit for no good reason than I do, say, a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu. For me, it's par for the course. It's like, well, of course you believe this. You're in religion. I get it. I was there. I was once there. I know the pitfalls, you know.
But
But
do you think like those that believe in conspiracy theorists are just trying to find a replacement for their faith?
one more time, they're trying to find
Do you
something.
replacement for their faith that they just
Um,
lost?
it could be, but oftentimes those conspiracy theories already come prepackaged, meaning they didn't need something to replace it. They already had it. They just couldn't give it up. You know what I mean? It would be like me leaving Christianity, but still being a conspiracy theorist. I just don't put God in the equation. And that was the thing. It was like,
Mm.
especially
Okay.
during the Bush war on terror, I'm like, how are all the Christians being fooled by the Bush administration? How do you not see that they're lying to us? How do you not see that weapons of mass destruction was a complete fiction that they concocted? And then we find out later, oh, what's his name? Dick Cheney literally told his people in the CIA and whoever else, I want cherry picked data. I want all the data, but I want cherry picked data that we can construct a narrative about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, where? I'm like, how come Christians aren't seeing this? I'm seeing it, and I'm just a kid. And I'm like, what are
It
you
should
doing?
be illegal.
What's that?
That should be illegal.
Yeah, it would be nice if we had checks and balances. Someone to tell the
We
president
should.
no. But see, that's the problem. When Obama got in office and he let all of these Bush appointees go, it was just like no prosecution, no consequences. That I think that really shattered people's brains. It was like, my goodness, Democrats and Republicans, they're all in on the scam. Ah!
Right.
And then their minds were just broken by that, I believe. And that's why you see a lot of these same people that voted for Obama are voting for Trump. I, make it make sense. I'm like,
Because
I
there's
knew
no
Trump was,
consequences.
well, yeah, I mean they saw Trump as an outsider. They're like, oh, he's not political, he's not this, he's gonna be great, he's gonna really shake things up. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you didn't wake up by the first administration, I can grant you that you got fooled the first time. But the second time, come on now. Something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I mean, I knew he was bad news back in 2014. And
Me too.
this was before he had any aspirations that we know of being president. I just kept seeing Trump's name everywhere. And even as a conspiracy theorist, we knew Trump's connection with Jeffrey Epstein. That was huge. In the conspiracy theory circles that I ran with,
Mm-hmm.
child
Mm-hmm.
attacking
I know.
attacking
Mm-hmm.
children that way was all over the place. That's all they were talking about was, oh man, these groups of pedophiles and this and that, and they're attacking children and they're harvesting, they're blah 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 blah. And Trump got lumped in with that.
He did.
And it was like, do you not see he is connected with Jeffrey Epstein? He gave a he was interviewed by Vanity Fair and he said, "Oh, I've known Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. He's a what a guy. He really loves his social life. And he loves the ladies and some of them are on the younger side." Direct quote. And
Yep.
if you I'm just like, you guys, you not you're not seeing this? So, I mean, and I was never going to vote for the Republican Party ever again. But then when he ran that first time and Hillary was running, you got to see there were a lot of conspiracy theories involving the Clintons. The Clintons were considered, black marked by a lot of people like me. And so we saw the Clintons and we were like, you know, but all of it was
Oh,
just
I think it was designed for us to see the Clintons like that.
yeah, I mean, the same group that perpetrated the Clinton lies back in the 90s were the same group of people that were perpetuating lies about FDR back in the 1940s. See, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, they were claiming that it was called the Birch Society. This was the secret conclave of people that were trying to expose secret communists within the US government. And they were trying to say that FDR was a communist and he was seeking to overthrow America through his New Deal, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, everything that FDR proposed literally got people out of poverty. That's why he died in his third or fourth term. I think he got elected 4 times. And he died in his fourth term. After that, then they started saying, okay, 2 terms only. But that is how popular FDR was. And how many people he impacted positively. I mean, you have to understand the economic collapse of the 1930s was just absolutely devastating. People were starving, living in tents, and his programs got them out of that situation. It was just amazing. But I mean, people from all walks of life loved FDR, and then here's this conclave of morons, idiots, and Dunning-Kruger specimens claiming he's a secret communist, but this misinformation kept going for 20, 30, 40 years until you get to the 90s. And by that time, you've got this whole group of people that have been brainwashed with these talking points.
Mm-hmm.
Then the internet comes out. And now all of these conspiracy theories are just spewed across the world. I mean, one of the first posts on the internet was conspiracy theories. And
Wow.
we have not recovered from that. So the Clintons were poisoned in our minds, and anybody associated with the Clintons have to be in on it, blah, 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 blah. Oh, God. Okay, for those of you on YouTube, if you're still with me, so I have to submit appeal to TikTok. I've been taken off. That's nice. Well, that's okay. It's amazing when you talk about conspiracy theories, things that you no longer believe in, it's counted as misinformation. Isn't that weird? Isn't that wild? But anyway, it's not enough to talk about what you don't believe in. You know, you talk about what you no longer ascribe to, and you're still hit with disinformation. So I got dinged for misinformation just for talking about conspiracy theories that I used to hold. Can you imagine that? Can you believe that? That's pretty wild, isn't it? But I had a good conversation. I don't care, you know. So I can't remember what they told me. I may not. Let me see here. Let me jump on my account. See what they say. Hey, what the heck? What happened? So my guest that was on my TikTok was just wondering, what happened. So I'm just letting her know, hey, I'm still here. I'm live on YouTube. But yeah, either I got reported, but I think more than that, I think it was just an algorithm. They picked up certain words, and I must have said enough trigger words that um, yeah, who knows? Open in web browser. Let's see if I can connect. Oh, there I am. Yeah, it is. It is dumb. Yeah, I must have said enough buzzwords. Monitoring bots. Let me see. Let me see if I can share it. But yeah, we're still live. I'm not gonna stay live for very long, but that's okay. Yeah, 19,000 likes, not bad. I think half of them were ours. That's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. But no, I enjoyed the conversation, and I don't know when I'm. Let me see what they say. Appeal not approved. Your live access will not be restored. So they'll be restored on 5/28. How long is that? That's 8 days. Or no, 7 days. So I got a 7 day ban. Wow, they didn't even. I mean, they denied my approval immediately. We reviewed your appeal and found your live violates. I mean, they didn't even take seconds. They It took seconds. Hardly that. Unbelievable. Not all white America. Oh my goodness. I'm checking up. Hey, how you going, Chai? So I don't know how to get guests. I don't know how to accept guests on Streamlabs yet. I'm sure there's a way, I just don't know how to do it. But yeah, so I must have said just enough buzzwords. And yeah, go ahead, Shy, go ahead and give me a follow. I'm not banned. I got a 7-day. It's basically a 7-day live ban. I can't go live or accept guests for 7 days. So that means I won't be able to do the Sunday show from TikTok. I will do the Sunday show on my YouTube, but yeah. So this channel is not the channel that I go live on Sundays. This is my reading channel, and I've done other things on this channel. So feel free to. But I have Skeptically Speaking. You know what? Let me send you my Skeptically Speaking channel. That's where I go live on Sundays. That has the dinosaur. Well, actually, no, they both have dinosaur pictures. Oops. Let me see. Share. I'll just send you my Skeptically Speaking one as well. So those are my two channels anyway. Yeah, it does suck. Let me see. Let me post it in the chat. So that one is my Skeptically Speaking. So the link there is the Skeptically Speaking. That's going to be my weekend show. That's my Sunday show, and then I do my readings. But that's okay. That's all right. I mean, I'm not going to. It's whatever. I must have said enough conspiracy theory buzzwords that they thought I was promoting them. So I've got to figure out a way how to talk about them without triggering an algorithm. I could say I got to start saying for TikTok purposes, I do not believe in this or subscribe to these beliefs. But yeah, it's like, ugh. I'm talking about beliefs I no longer have, and it's considered misinformation, I guess. So, anyway, well, I'm just going to go ahead and end the stream here, but it was a great conversation, lovely conversation, but I got to get going now. So, I will see you all later. And what I'm going to do, though, if I'm going to go live with readings, I'm going to make a video first from my TikTok channel. The link did not work. The link doesn't work. What about... So I sent the link in your TikTok. You said it doesn't work. Skeptically Speaking 24-7. Yeah. So Skeptically Speaking 24_7. And that should get you to my reading channel. But yeah, so what I'll do is I'll make a video, post it, and that way I'll let you know that we're going live for sure. So, yes, the last link doesn't work. That's weird. Yeah, because I went right to the channel. Yeah, it's the same link. Let me see here. Yeah, because I'm looking right at it. And let me see. Share. Copy link. You know what? Let me try sharing the QR code. Let me see if that'll work. Save camera roll. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can't send it in the message. I can't send it as a message, can I? Ah, damn it. Well, anyway, I have a QR code. It doesn't help anybody. But anyway, you can find Skeptically Speaking. You can find me on Blue Sky. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Threads. You can find me on Substack. You can find me everywhere. So if you are on Facebook, you can find me there, or Threads, or Blue Sky, or Substack, or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I'm skeptically speaking all over the place. So with that being said, I will end the stream. Take care. Good night. Sleep tight.